All right, so good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our conference call for community health promotion invitees. My name is Enrique Liñán, and I'll invite my colleagues here to introduce themselves.
Hi, my name is Miriam. I am the program manager for the health program.
Hi, I'm Nelly. I'm the programming and training specialist for the community health program.
Hola a todos, I'm Alonso, the regional program manager.
Hola, soy Carmen, one of the doctors.
All right, so we're gonna get started with just a quick reminder of learning space. Just remember that that we have been sending you emails about learning space. We've been asking you to log on to learning.peacecorps.gov. I will send an email later today with more instructions. Nelly and Miriam, they have put together some materials for you to read. We also have a survey. We have information about preparation for your arrival, which is called Bridge to PreService Training. And I encourage you, and actually you have to complete all those readings. Those are required readings that you have to do before you get here, okay? So please make sure that you log on to learning.peacecorps.gov, training space 32, okay? And complete all the tasks that are there, all right? Now we're gonna move on with Alonso. He's gonna give you some more information about Peace Corps Peru.
Yeah, Peace Corps Peru started working here in the country in 1962, 1 year after the official opening of the agency in the States. From that time to 1975, Peace Corps had to leave the country during the military government. More than 2,000 volunteers work in the areas of education, agriculture, small business, and infrastructure. So at the invitation of the Peru's government, Peace Corps returned to the country in 2002 when we signed an official agreement with the government of Peru to work together here in the country. Since then, more than 1,200 volunteers have been working in the country in some areas. In 2002, when we returned to the country, we opened the small business and the health program. In 2004, we opened the youth development program. In 2005, we opened the environmental program, which we are closing out after 12 years of service. And in 2007, we opened the WASH sector here in the country. Currently, we're working on health, youth development, CED, which stands for Community Economic Development, which is the new name for a small business development program, and WASH. We also have our Peace Corps Response program, which offers an opportunity for return of former Peace Corps volunteers and people with experience not to serve in a short-term assignment.
All right, thank you, Alonso. That was just a brief overview. You can find more information about that on the website, okay? peacecorps.gov/Peru. Now I'm gonna pass it over to Miriam and Nelly. They're gonna give you more information about preparing to serve as a community health volunteer.
Hi, we are really excited that you will be coming here really soon. Again, my name is Miriam. I am the program manager. During training, you will be working more like directly, day to day with Nelly, the PTS. But I would like to talk briefly about the areas of work and the goals of the program. So basically, the purpose of the program is that the families in rural communities will improve their health. That's the umbrella of all what we aim by working here in the rural communities. And we work in two main areas. One area is working with moms that has children under the age of 3 years old and other caregivers to promote healthy lifestyles, but specifically about nutrition, because the rates of malnourishment and anemia in Peru are extremely high. So those are a couple of the main priorities of Peru that we are trying to support lowering numbers by your service in the communities. What do you do? What would you be doing? You would be working with health professionals from health centers, doing house visits, demonstration sessions. You will be working also on early childhood development, specifically or more common on childhood stimulation, and also making resources with local, making toys and resources for childhood stimulation using local resources. The idea is that you engage the moms, you do the visits with the people from the health center, like the nurses or the obstetricians, but they are also local volunteers in your communities. The local volunteers are agentes comunitarios. Some of your communities will have those local volunteers, agentes comunitarios, but your main point of contact in the health center will be the nurse of the obstetrician. The idea is that you will be working with them for the moms to learn how to read their development card, to improve, for example, hand washing techniques, everything about health promotion. But you won't be doing things like vaccinations, like attending child labor and delivery. That's not the expectation, so please have that in mind when you are coming. And the idea is also that you will be doing cooking demonstrations at least monthly with health personnel to promote the consumption of iron-rich foods and local iron-rich foods, liver or pulmón, ¿cómo se dice? Lung, liver, blood. With that things here, so you need to be familiarized with some recipes. You will be learning them during training, and those are local iron-rich foods that we would promote among our communities. That's our main focus for Goal 1. And for that, we have a manual that has been developed here in the Peace Corps that shows you different materials, different techniques, different tools, and it's very similar from what the ministry is doing. So the idea is that you use the manual, you promote using the manual with the people from the health center, you do the health visits together, never alone, never alone. And also you train some people to do that job together. No? You facilitate, you train. And in regards to our second goal, which is working with youth, we basically work in local high schools with teenagers aged between 12 and 17, mostly between ages 14 to 17. And the purpose here is to reduce the numbers of pregnancy and also to give youth and sexual health education. It's a school-based program, and we have a manual. This manual has been also developed in Peace Corps, but has a lot of local knowledge and is adapted to the context. And it has 14 sessions. The first phase is about the person, self-esteem, how to manage conflict, stress management, and the second part is more technical, talking about prevention, about choosing your partner, about gender, about HIV/AIDS. So it's a very comprehensive manual. We will be working with this manual in the school with students from the 3rd grade, which are the students that are around 15 years old, with a teacher of tutoria, which is at least once per week, 1 hour per week. Of course, for this session, you are expected to work and to bring people from the health center as well, for the technical part. And the idea is that you promote and you form peer leaders with the school, and these peer leaders would be the peer educators, that during your 2nd year of service, they will be working with you to deliver the information to other classes at the school. This is very big. It's just a brief speech on the areas of the work, but I'm pretty sure you are logging and checking all the resources in the learning space, and you will see the break framework more in detail. And also you will see a couple of PowerPoints where you will be able to see by photographs, examples of counterparts, examples of the activities, and how the people look, what are the materials that they use, because we promote a lot of non-formal education techniques, and that's what you will be being trained and doing outside. And to discuss a little bit more about the regions and sites and some key messages, Nelly will be sharing a bit.
Okay, hi everyone, I'm Nelly Nájera. I'm the Programming and Training Specialist in the Community Health Program. I will in charge of your technical training during pre-service training and the rest of the training continue too. Well, this pre-service training is focused on the two goals, as Miriam said, but with more intensity in goal 1, because you will have more time to prepare in goal 2 later in your service. You will be working in small rural communities in Peru, in 4 regions: Ancash, Cajamarca, Amazonas, y Junín. It means that you will have some limit service, for example, about cell phone service and transportation service. You won't have any service about internet. You will be in the Sierra, in the highlands in Peru. In this opportunity, we don't have any site in the coast. We hope that you are coming with a great commitment to work here, because the expectation for health volunteers is to build a very good professional relationship with your counterpart, with your future counterpart. They are health staff and school-based staff too, and you will work with them in a very professional way, doing report with them, trying to work closer to help them to improve the health in their communities. What else? You must bring clothes for the heat, cold, and rainy seasons. It's so important because you will be working in the Sierra, and it's important for this period.
Yeah, and also to supplement what Nelly is saying, which is really important for you to remember about the sites. As she mentioned, only highland sites, not coastal sites, because Nelly mentioned Ancash, which is a region that does have ocean, but we are not in the coastal line of Ancash. We are only in the highlands of Ancash. That's something for you not to forget. And also, she mentioned small rural sites. For us, what's small are sites with around 300 and 500 families, more or less. And the idea is, as you mentioned, is your commitment for 2 years, and also remember that you will be working 24/7. So 24/7, as your site will be small, you will be in the fishbowl all the time. So you need to come in a mindset, prepare for that. Obviously, during training, the staff will provide you with some techniques, but it's always good to start, to come with that perspective. Also, as Nelly mentioned, bring clothes for different seasons, but make sure you bring professional clothing, because the expectation is that you will work as a professional. So you will need to bring, you should wear the same things that the Peruvians here are wearing. This could be a good example, a blouse, a polo shirt.
Every day.
It's a good idea. It's a professional environment. It's a rural site, it's true. It's outside of Lima, it's true. But the expectation is that you will be wearing appropriate clothes during your service. And also it's important because you will have ceremony and you need to bring, your suit and stuff. But Enrique will explain more about that. But just to finish, to be brief, even though our sites are rural, are far away, with limited access to internet, communication, etc., all of them are qualified by these core different criteria we have, especially safety and security. Okay, so please trust your staff on that. And again, we are here to support you, to guide you, and to be all on the same page. You will be receiving the volunteer handbook with all the policy and all the guidelines that you will be expected to follow during your service. Okay, so please make sure you're here with all the commitment. Remember that you need to build professional relationships with your counterparts. The staff is doing site identification for you, and we will be identifying a couple of counterparts. As we mentioned, school-based staff and health center staff. That is part of your role to continue developing those professional relationships with them during your service. And to finish, Maybe you have a partner or something and you are coming separate of them. Please, maybe you need to talk to them, consider what this means, because this is not about you. It's also about the local communities you will be serving in. So you need to be really sure you want to be here, and it's a big commitment, okay? And we are really excited that you're going to be here. We have a really great team in the health program with the volunteers in the field. For us today, we are 41 health volunteers in the field. So it's a big family. Everyone is very hardworking, and we want that the same for you. And we are here to support. And that's it.
To finish.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Hilton. Now I'm gonna let Dr. Carmen in here, because she's gonna continue with the medical information.
Hola, buenas tardes, good afternoon. My name is Carmen. I'm one of the 3 doctors. We call ourselves PCMOs, or Peace Corps Medical Officers. We have a unit of 5 people, 3 doctors, 1 nurse, and 1 secretary. We're based here in Lima, and we are going to be your healthcare providers and also your 911. So don't worry, because one of us is on call 24/7 for medical emergencies. I'm actually the one on call. And some information for the first weeks of training. You are getting all the vaccines, aka shots, that you're missing, or the boosters that you need, and we usually have them on Tuesdays. Please bring a 3-month supply of medications, the medicines that you take on a routine basis. And also, if you wear glasses, please bring 2 pairs of glasses. Remember that we do not encourage volunteers, trainees to wear their contact, because environment is not as clean as the US, and probably it can give us some problems if you wear the contacts, no? So here, I'm going to give you 3 facts that are very important. In terms of hygiene, as I said, things are not going to be like in the States. The environment is different, and it will take some time for you to adapt, no? You may see host families, members are not washing their hands on a regular basis. How they prepare food is completely different as you are used to, or the utensils that they use, or the way of how they prepare the meals are definitely not going to be the same, you know? It is very important that you are culturally appropriate and respectful to those who host you in their houses, you know? And probably during the first months, they're the ones that are going to be preparing your food, and you're going to share with them a lot of time. And that's actually something that we want you to do, not to spend some time with your host family and experience the adventure of being part of another family, no? Don't freak out if you see that they're not washing their hands, or they're not cleaning or washing the utensils. As I said before, if something drops and they put it back in the pot, take things easy. Just talk to them and take advantage of this opportunity to educate them, you know? Another fact is you will get sick, for sure. And that's just part of adapting on living in a new country, you know? Things get better. As I said, you will get sick, food will affect you, weather will affect you, water will affect you, but things will get better, you know? It's just a matter of time and a little bit of patience. And besides, as I said, you do have 3 doctors that are going to be there for you, no? Another fact is most women will gain weight, most men will lose. But I know it's not fair, but it's just biological. Things will get even once you get back to to the US. But you will survive to this too. Yeah, you will survive to this, you will survive to diarrhea. Many times. Many times. You will poop in your pants, and you will gain a chocolate if you poop in your pants and be part of the team. As I said, you will get 100 shots or vaccines here. You will get some medical talks during training to give you some information and tips, and you will learn to work with our system. No, we're really happy to have you pretty soon. Don't worry, your charts are on our way. We get them before you are here, so we usually know beforehand if you're having a medical condition or if we need to take care of something right before you come. If something happened medically speaking before you come, please notify the nurse that is helping you in pre-service so we get the information and stay on time.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Karen. And we do have some questions. I'm following the live broadcast, and we have some questions. We're gonna leave the questions at the end, okay? We're gonna do that at the end, okay? We're gonna have some time for Q's and A's. And now we're gonna move on to my section, okay? Where we'll talk about training. Okay, so your pre-service training, and you'll hear that a lot, PST. That takes place in a community called Chaclacayo. Chaclacayo is a community an hour east of Lima, okay? And your pre-service training will last for 12 weeks, okay? We'll be there, and we'll focus on safety and security, medical, intercultural competency, diversity and inclusion, language, and technical, right? You met Rosa Maria and the different calls. She's the language coordinator, and you've been interacting with some of our language facilitators on Learning Space, and Nelly will be in charge of your technical sessions. During this months of pre-service training, you will be learning a lot of language, okay? How your time you will spend learning language. And during week 5, you will receive your specific site assignment. You will know where you will be working for the next 2 years. Then you'll travel to your future sites, visit your future sites for 2 weeks, and then come back to the training center for the remaining for weeks 9 to 12, and then you will swear in to go and serve in your communities. During pre-service training, you will have to live with host families. There's no exceptions, okay? Everybody lives with a host family in the Chaclacayo community or the communities around. Married couples, they get to live in the same house with the same family, okay? This is also true for service. During service, volunteers live with host families for at least 6 months. That's the minimum requirement. We find our volunteers living and staying with host families for their full 2 years. Most of our volunteers do that since they have found that this is the best way to integrate into the community and to reinforce their language skills. And once they get to know their host family, it's really hard for them to leave them, right? So just keep that in mind. You will be living with a host family for your first 3 months, and then at least for your first 6 months of your service. Remember, for your host families, remember to bring a small gift to give to your host families, okay? Pack 2 sets of gifts because you'll have 2 host families during your service. One will be your host family during pre-service training in Chaclacayo, and the other one will be your host family in your site, okay? So make sure to pack 2 sets of gifts. Ideas for gifts could be chocolate. We all love chocolate. You can bring keychains, magnets. You can bring postcards. Okay, and I know that some people ask, like, should I bring one for each member of the family? And you don't know how many members there are. So you can bring just a postcard from where you're from, and to put it on the fridge with a magnet, that will do, or some chocolate to share with the whole family. Those are pretty good suggestions. Now we also have an assessment process. During the time that you are here, you're doing your first 3 months. We will be evaluating and assessing your knowledge, skills, and attitudes and your competencies in order to see if you are ready to serve. We have criteria that we have developed as PC Peru staff, and we have put together this assessment tool, which is called the Trainee Assessment Portfolio, the TAP. Okay, the TAP is our formal trainee assessment process. and it will last for the 12 weeks. The very first session that you get during pre-service training is a session on the tab. I will be leading that session. All of the staff were involved in the assessment process through observations, feedback. The idea of this process is to make sure that everybody is ready to serve and that we are supporting everybody to get to that goal. We want to set up everybody for success and want to make sure that we cater to everybody's individual needs. There are some people who have the language skills and they don't need to work a lot on that. There's some people who have more technical skills. There's some people who might be struggling with strategies to integrate into the community. There might be people who don't know how to navigate certain aspects of the community. So that's what we're here for, okay? We will be giving you feedback through documentation and conversations. And at the end, all of this assessment process will help us decide who is ready to serve and who's not, okay? So again, this is a very transparent and objective process. We'll give you more information when you get here, but we just want you to know and to keep that in mind that what we do is because we want to make sure that our trainees are ready to become volunteers. And the last thing I wanted to say is on dress and dress code, like Miriam was saying. Remember that the clothes that you're going to be wearing during training sessions, when you go to schools, when you go to health centers, they have to be business casual clothes. So men typically will wear pants, button-down shirts, okay? Jackets sometimes are not so common, okay? So you can reserve that for very formal occasions. In women, they usually wear, in formal occasions, they wear dresses and skirts. In work environments, it can be a blouse or nice pants, okay? Remember, please, for women, remember that long leggings, yoga pants, tights, or skinny tight jeans, they are not worn as a form of pants, okay? In any professional settings, which means when you go to schools, when you go to the health post, that is not culturally accepted, okay? If you wear any of those at the training center, we as staff will have to tell you that that's not culturally appropriate and that you have to change, okay? Also, short, low-cut garments are inappropriate in professional settings. So remember, that's not allowed either at the training center or at the schools where you're working. I know that some people like to go running and they might want to wear like those tiny shorts. Again, that draws a lot of attention, and then that you can get unwanted attention for wearing those because people are not usually in the places where you're going to be working. That's not common. Maybe in the greater Lima area, you can see that, okay? But not in the places where you're going to be living and working, okay? So remember that blue jeans, t-shirts, sportswear, sandals, you can reserve that for the place when you are at with your host families for the weekends, okay? But you're definitely not going to wear those when you go to the schools or the health posts where you're going to be working. Remember that in general, you're expected to dress professionally when attending all the formal training sessions and when interacting in the communities. Again, as I said, schools or health centers or other institutions in the communities around the training center. In terms of tattoos, piercings, I know that is definitely an expression of the diversity of each person's diversity, and we know that, and we acknowledge that, and we embrace that. However, when we work with institutions, schools specifically, they request us that if we have some volunteers who have tattoos and they're visible, they ask us to tell our trainees to cover those tattoos when they go to the schools, because our volunteers are an example for the school students. So school principals usually get concerned if our volunteers have visible tattoos. So we'll ask you to cover those tattoos when you have to go to the institutions. When you're at the training center, again, it's a safe place and you can wear your tattoos. That's totally okay. Regarding piercings, it's very similar to what I just said about tattoos. In general, we want to prepare our trainees so that they are ready to have these conversations with Peruvians and explain to them the reason why they have a tattoo or why they have a piercing and what that means to each of you, okay? So be ready to have those conversations because that will definitely attract attention and people will ask questions about that, okay? In terms of hair, I know that in Peru, it's not very common to see men with long hair. So in some cases, volunteers have chosen to shave or cut their hair or shave their facial hair. If that's the case, if you want to do that, that's totally optional. Again, if not, be ready to have those conversations, and we will help you to have those conversations too. But always make sure to check in with staff and to ask what's culturally appropriate and what's the most culturally appropriate thing to do. All right? So I see that there's some questions, but again, we're gonna answer those questions at the end, okay? We're gonna move on with Alonso, and he's gonna tell you a little bit more about safety and security.
Yeah, we have our safety and security manager and our safety and security assistant. You will meet them here when you get to the country. And you're gonna meet them at the orientation retreat, but let's share some information or details about the cultural norms here. It's important for all of you to realize that diversity and the respect for diversity may mean something very different here in Peru than it does in the States. So volunteers will have to make some adjustments to learn how to navigate into these different contexts. And keeping that in mind, Peru, like the States, is a very diverse country, and Peace Corps staff have received training on diversity and inclusion, and also intercultural competence and LGBT issues in order to be able to provide you the support that you need. So having an open communication approach between you and us is crucial and beneficial to help you to adapt to and also address challenges on diversity and any other cultural aspect. No, for example, gender norms is also a common problem or issue that some volunteers face in their sites, or even here in Lima or in the Chaclacayo community, but especially for women. Women sometimes experience verbal harassment or unacceptable touching or grabbing, and some of them can experience these very little in their sites, and some volunteers experience weekly or weekly incidents. When something happens, you can contact us, and we are going to activate our protocols and our process in order to provide, again, the support that you need. Now, we can work together in order to find a solution. If something happens in your site, we can go there. We have staff placed in your regional capitals available to talk to you, or you can reach out to them, or you can reach out to our main office, and then we're gonna together build a plan to address the situation. About cell phones and internet, so Peace Corps volunteers are given a very basic cell phone on the first day of your orientation retreat. These cell phones are part of our network where all calls to staff and also volunteers are free. As Nelly mentioned, connectivity is very limited in regions and in the field, in the field side, so Peace Corps volunteers have to learn to make do with what is available in their sites. Now, in terms of internet, again, it changes from site to site, but in most cases, there's no connection or it can be very slow. About insurance for electronics, like cell phones and etc., Peace Corps does not replace those except for the Peace Corps cell phones. We suggest that you can get Clement's insurance, but if you have more questions about it, you can email Enrique, and then he can forward that email to our Director of Management of Operations. Now we can reply your questions. About mailing, we recommend against mailing package during your first 3 months of pre-service training. Please inform your family and friends to send care package after you complete your 3 months of pre-service training, after your training ceremony. No, the process for picking up mail can be long and expensive.
Thank you, Ana. Yes, and your volunteers who are currently serving will tell you that we've had some stories where people have ended up paying a lot of money because they had a package that was stuck at customs. Our training center is 1 hour away from Lima, and the customs office is in El Callao near the airport. So it's about 3 hours if you want to go from the training center or the sites all the way to customs, the customs office. It's a lot of time, a lot of money, and it just becomes really, really hard. So please avoid doing that. Mail is fine. They can send you letters and postcards and that stuff. It's always a good idea to tell them to pay for a tracking system. Otherwise, mail can get lost. It does happen. I'll tell you some stories about that when you get here. One of the other things that I wanted to mention was about sleeping bags. I know that was included in the agenda. If you guys feel like you want to bring sleeping bags, you can do that, especially volunteers serving in the highlands, in the Sierra. They find themselves using their sleeping bags as a way to cover from the cold. So if you have space, bring a sleeping bag. If not, it's okay. You can find sleeping bags here in Peru. You can find most of the ones that you can find in the States. Of course, they're a little bit more expensive, but still, you can find them. So if you're struggling with whether you have space or not to pack a sleeping bag, if you don't have space, it's okay. You can get one here, okay? Then now, Heather, do you have any updates for them?
Yes. So everyone should have received an email from staging on July 26th to let you know some information about the staging in Philadelphia on September 4th and 5th. If you did not receive that email, please let me know. You can email me at perudesk@peacecorps.gov. So everyone will be registering at noon. Any other questions you might have about baggage, feel free to give me a call offline. If you have any one-off questions about your clearance, I know some people are still waiting on medical clearance and legal clearance. That is completely normal. I saw on the Facebook group people are nervous, so just be patient with that. You're welcome to call the medical team and legal team, but there's really no updates. They will be able to notify you as soon as possible. And please ensure both legal clearance and medical clearance. Make sure you're just staying in touch with your pre-service nurse. And that's it from headquarters. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Heather. All right, so we're gonna move on with the last section, and then we'll answer all your questions. People in the conference call, you're also welcome to ask questions after this section. Okay. All right. So the last one part is about airport arrival. You guys will be arriving right after staging, as Heather mentioned. That's happening on the 4th and the 5th. You'll be traveling on the 5th. Okay. You'll be arriving here in Lima at the Jorge Chavez Airport around 9:30 p.m. I've included all this information in the bridge to PST, but when you get there, you will see me and the country director, Tembi Caprio. You can find our photos in the bridge to PST so that you know who Tembi is. We'll be there, we'll wait for you, we'll meet you there, we'll help you through migrations and then customs. And then when you leave the airport, as you exit through the exit gates, you'll see the team here, the Peace Corps staff. They'll be waiting there for you. It'll be a party, you'll see, with currently serving volunteers, Peace Corps staff. We'll do a head count there, brief welcome, and quick picture welcome photo, and then we'll take you to the buses. You'll get on the bus. You'll travel for about 2 hours to the training site. You'll spend one night at a retreat center, only for one night. So please make sure that you pack a backpack maybe, for one night. Why? Because all your bags, your big checked luggage, will go straight to the training center. So that the moment you get on the bus, you leave your luggage in one place, and then you won't have access to your luggage until the next morning. So please make sure that you have one carry-on or one backpack with enough stuff for one night. The next morning, we'll walk from the retreat center to the training center, and then you'll have access to your bags and everything. And that same day, we'll have sessions during the day, and right after that, you'll meet your host families that same day. You'll get all your bags, and then you'll go to your house with your host families, where you will be living for the first 3 months of pre-service training, okay? So please, I cannot stress that enough. Make sure that you pack a bag for one night. Okay, because every year we have trainees who forget about that, and then they find themselves like carrying their big bags, and it's really bulky. Okay, so please remember that. That's also included in the bridge to PST, so make sure you read that. And if you have questions, please let me know. Okay.
How far is the walk from the
And the walk from the retreat center to the training center is about 20 minutes. It's about 20 minutes. It's not really that long. But again, if you're walking with a big bag, it's definitely not the best thing, right? All right, so that's it on us. Please, again, make sure that you check Learning Space. You have all the information you need there. Also, tomorrow you have your language proficiency interviews. I know most of you have already scheduled them. For the people who still haven't scheduled their interviews, please make sure you do that, or let me know if you have any problems with that, okay? So now we are going to answer some of your questions. I have a couple of people here who asked some questions about the program. So let's see. Here, the question is Laura. So Laura Vasquez, she's asking a couple questions. So Laura says, I was told my position was called public health educator. Is that the same thing as community health volunteer?
Yeah, it's the same. We are making changes and improvements in all our systems to make sure all our wording and how we express is consistent. But all of you will be doing more or less the same job. All of you will have the same counterparts. Your main counterpart, your main point of contact in your community for work-related things is the health center. So you must come thinking that you will be working daily and weekly in a local health center, as well as working with a local high school in a classroom setting, co-facilitating sessions with a tutoring teacher. So both are the main counterparts for all of you. And all of you will be assigned to sites that are rather small in the 4 regions that Lenny mentioned earlier.
And that kind of leads us to the next question that Laura also asked. Will all health volunteers get the opportunity to do all the tasks mentioned, or will it depend on the site where each volunteer gets placed?
Obviously, there are some case-by-case considerations, but all the sites have been identified with the minimum standards of the local high school, the local health center, the obstetrician or nurse, the tutoring teacher, the group of students, and some sites will have the local volunteers that I mentioned earlier, and maybe other national programs or other local grassroots level organizations. But for everyone, the minimum are the health promotion activities within and the outreach of the community and within the school setting.
Thank you, Miriam. There's another question from Rachel for Dr. Carmen. So do volunteers always need to boil their water to make it safe to drink?
It's not that you have to, it's recommended. It's our main, it's the main resource that we have to drink safe water.
All right, thank you, Dr. Carmen. And you will have a full session on that, on food and water preparation during your first week of pre-service training. Another question. When we are on our sites, before that, how many trainees are in our class? Okay, as of now, those numbers vary. Okay, as of now, there's about 26 people. Okay, 26 people. And we will know for sure the day you show up at staging. And then Heather will be there with you, and they will, and you will know how many people are in your class.
We'll know when they get here.
And we'll know when you get here. We'll see. Okay, but it's about 26 people as of now, as of today. Okay, but in total, that's only for the community health. The total class, it's about 60 people. That's the other half is youth development. Okay, next question. So thank you, Rachel, for the question. Laura is asking, when we are on our sites, do we have required meetings and ongoing trainings? How often do we get to see other volunteers during our 2 years of service? Okay, so who wants to answer that question?
So in regards meetings and reporting, you will be expected to give in written reports to your main counterparts on a monthly or bi-monthly basis. And on a bi-monthly basis, you are required to send us, the staff, a copy of those reports you were giving to the local counterparts. The idea of those reports are for you to continue developing a positive relationship, to schedule activities, to do your programming, etc. And also, it is a way to show professionalism and accountability as well, and for us to give the appropriate feedback and support. Also, you will be receiving training during your 2 years. Enrique, maybe you wanna explain more about the training during that.
So yeah, you have what we call a training continuum. So the very first part of that training continuum is pre-service training, which lasts 3 months. And then we have what we call early in-service training, mid-service meetings, and close-up service meetings. So at least at those points, you will see at least the people in your same sector. And there's some other events, like what we call regional meetings, that Alonso will tell you about.
We have quarterly based events where all volunteers in one region are called to go to the regional capitals, and we take advantage of that opportunity to share updates from the PC office, to also ask some volunteers to share best practices and to have beneficial discussions together for the group. And as I said at the beginning, those are organized for the regional teams that we have in each region, and we have 4 per year.
Yes, thank you, Alonso. You will definitely get more information about that.
About how often you are going to be able to see our volunteers. You will be assigned in 4 regions where there are currently around 20 to 25 more volunteers serving. Our commitment is 25 one side, where you can go and do your work as a peace corps volunteers in our 3 goals. And then you are going to receive a training session on our out-of-site policies. Now we have a very open out-of-site policy based on trust, but it depends on how you want to approach your integration process. Now we are going to have some opportunities where we can discuss more about being out-of-site, what's the most convenient approach that you need to apply for your integration process.
Thank you. Next question. The one-night backpack that you suggest we pack, should it be professional clothes? No, Laura. You're just arriving at the airport, and it's just whatever you want to wear for that night and for the next morning. The next morning, I would suggest something comfortable for the first day of the retreat. Again, it's going to be the very first day at the training center. So, first impressions matter. Thank you, Miriam. You just read my mind. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. So for the first day, make sure to wear something that, it's at least comfortable, but, something that will make a good first impression. Okay, let's just put it that way. Okay, so not super professional clothes, but something that is acceptable and that still looks professional without being super formal. I hope that's clear.
Maybe jeans and
you can jeans and a polo shirt, for example, or jeans and a blouse or like a cardigan for women, something like that. All right, next question. Will we receive our passports and visas at the staging event? Heather, I think that question is for you.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. So I will give you your personal passport back at the beginning of the staging event, as well as your birth certificate and birth evidence or whatever you sent in. And then I'll have you sign your Peace Corps passport, and I'll hang on to those until right before you leave for the airport. So that's one less thing for you to have to keep up with. And the visa will be included in your Peace Corps passport. You'll get all of that there.
All right, thank you, Heather. Next question. Will all health volunteers get placed in the High Sierra? Can you please repeat the regions we will be placed at? Okay.
So Amazonas, Ancash, Cajamarca, and Junín.
And yes, you all will be placed in the High Sierra.
Okay, so please, and remember, I know that sometimes when people hear Amazonas, they think, oh, the Amazon River. But that's actually not where it's actually where the Amazon River, like there's rivers that go and that end in the Amazon River, but the Amazonas region is not the Amazon rainforest. Remember that, keep that in mind, okay? So you're not gonna be there. It's not gonna be hot. It's Amazonas region. You'll learn more about that region, but it's not the Amazon rainforest. Okay, and another question, Rachel is asking, is there any important paperwork that we should bring with us to PST? Yes, you need to bring your resume in Spanish. It's already on Learning Space. You have to upload it to Learning Space or bring it in a flash drive. It's better if you upload it to Learning Space so we can have records of it, because sometimes people lose them or like they cannot access them, or sometimes they are like in a different format. So please upload your resumes in Spanish in Word format to Learning Space. That's the only really necessary document that you need to bring, and your and also your aspiration statement. Dr. Carmen.
If you get a vaccine 2 days before, a week before, and you get your vaccination card updated, please bring it to the training center as well.
Thank you. And the next question, Dr. Carmen. Do you recommend purchasing a water filter like a Steripen? I don't know what Steripen is, but Dr. Carmen, do you recommend that? Water filter?
You can get a water filter, but I don't know if you're going to be able to find the supplies to renew them or change them here. As I said, we do recommend that you boil your water, here in country.
And then also that's a question you might wanna ask currently serving volunteers in the Facebook group. That's another thing that you might want to do. For the most part, our volunteers, we want them to live at the level of the community, and in the communities, people don't use water filters. So that's just the bottom line.
We just boil the water but yes, you can bring one. As I said, I don't know if you're going to be able to find replacement parts here in country. I haven't seen them here. The one that you mentioned, I haven't seen them in country.
Thank you. Any other questions, please, on the conference call line? Maybe somebody who wants to ask a question. Please don't be shy. We'll be happy to hear your voices. Or if you want to type a question on the live broadcast, that's also great too. Thanks for the people who've been asking questions. Oh yes, another question. No questions in the conference call line? All right, so, okay, thank you. There's another question here. Family members will ask us how often we can communicate with them. What do you suggest we tell them, since we are not sure whether we will have access to internet and phone service?
During your first 3 months of service or pre-service training, PST, you do have casual internet and cell phone, because that Chaclacayo Training Center is a part of Lima, the major city. So I guess weekly would be safe to say, during weekends for the first 3 months. And then once you are in service, I would say once a month, when you go to the regional capital to buy your supplies, to do banking, to send reports through internet. Maybe more than that if you are lucky and you have some internet access outside or cell phone sign-up. But to be safe and to be open and honest, at least once a month.
It's always better to manage your expectations too.
Yeah, guys, be thoughtful when you post something, because remember that you are somebody else's baby, and they will worry about you when you post something, and then all of a sudden, oh my God, I have diarrhea, I'm dying, I'm dehydrated. And then you don't post anything for the next 3 days because you don't have internet access, and you worry your caregivers, and you might not have connection, and they might be worried to death. So be thoughtful on what you're posting or what you're saying, because yes, you will have diarrhea, and you will not die. You'll be taken care of. So be, as I said, once again, be thoughtful on what you're posting and how often you're posting things.
All right, thank you, Dr. Carmen. Any other questions before we end the call? Conference call line people, want to hear your voices? Okay. All right, so I guess, again, if you have any questions, please feel free to email me, okay? Again, we're very excited to see you in, less than a month, actually, right? Well, thank you for joining today. Any other final words?
Gracias, muchas gracias. Nos vemos en el aeropuerto de Lima.
Nos vemos pronto.
Cuídense. Chao, chao.
Bye.